Thank you so much, Dr. Bhatia, for putting together such an amazing audience of professionals. And so nice to see also the students here. Dr. Tarita, thank you so much. It's so refreshing. And hello, everyone. So very briefly about myself, for those who didn't meet me yesterday. Liesbeth Schiavo, Dutch name, Italian surname. I've been in Dubai for almost 19 years. I've been working across organizations in manufacturing, services, organizations that are very much dependent on labor and the output of people in the workplace, and also organizations with low margins. So my experience goes between the EMEA region and the APAC region. So today I was invited, thank you by the way, Asif, for inviting me here as well, and Dr. Bhatia, to talk about resilient leadership and high-performance organization. Since after COVID, the resilience is a word that is on the mouth of everyone. Even in the commercials, we are talking about resilience when it's about sports, for example. Once upon a time, we were talking about being focused, being diligent, being persistent, but now it's all about resilience. Even when talking about our children, we want them to be resilient because if we don't make them resilient, they will not be able to get out of home and go to university probably. So resilient is there really for everyone nowadays, and especially in the world of work, ourselves as leaders, we want to be in resilience as well. If you look at the job advertisements, resilient is in every job advertisement. Every company claims to want resilience and to have resilient leaders and to be a high-performance organization, because every organization wants to be an organization that is successful, that is a winning organization, that wants to earn more market shares and be more profitable, right? So, yet, even if every organization claims to be resilient, yet when moments of pressure comes, we can see that performance becomes fragile. Decisions become slower to take, and trust within the workplace amongst the employees, amongst the colleagues, gets to be eroded. And also this is the impression of the world outside, our customers. If resilience goes slower when under pressure, our customers also will see. So in this session of mine, I would like also to talk about then what is the resilience that every organization claims to have. What is that about? What is that our organizations are developing if yet we are underperforming when under pressure? And what does resilience really mean? And does resilience always translate into high performance and a high performance culture? So, because this is very important, because when resilience is misunderstood, it is just a slogan, whereas when resilience is thoughtfully designed, it becomes a strategic advantage. Now, as I said, I'm Italian, and in Italy we study Latin. So my, let's say, thing is that whenever I want to understand properly something, I go to what the word really means. And I go to the origin of the word. Resilience comes from a Latin word that is resilire. Re means back, silire means jump. It's actually a spring back, which is something that I'm not going to do now because I've never learned how to do this. But it's actually the ability to spring back. So it was never about hardness. It was never about endless endurance. And this is also what resilire, resilience, means. And this is maybe something that is more familiar to all of us. Actually, the spring, that even when we put pressure on the spring goes back to its original form, right? And this is actually what resilience, resilire, meant from the beginning. Go back to your original form, even after pressure. Over time, in leadership, resilience has been associated to many different behaviors that we can see here. And many organizations today recognize in these behaviors like the signs of resilience amongst their leaders. Well, these behaviors actually in the long, maybe a quick fix, but in the long term will break the leader or will break the team and will actually start eroding culture. Whereas these are clearly the examples of the behaviors that we should express when delivering resilience leadership. So it's about absorbing shock without permanent distortion. It's about remaining whole. It's about stability, reinstating stability. It's about adapting without losing coherence. In essence, it's about bending but never breaking, and especially never lose yourself. Now, I'm not going to talk about VUCA because we've been hearing about VUCA for, I think, decades now. And really, our leaders nowadays the VUCA is in every day. And since 2018, there was actually a new word that then in the HR world is very common now since the 20s, the BANI framework. This is actually the framework that our leaders need to deal with every day. It is the VUCA taken to the extreme. This morning, Sharon and Louis talked about a polyformic world, right? So this is the situation we are now, our leaders are now to focus on. Brittle systems, anxiety. We've been talking about anxiety that AI is giving all of us. We have been talking about the anxiety of our young generation, right? Will what they study be still relevant when they will finish their education? The anxiety of the boomers and the millennials to meet the Gen Z when getting to work. The anxiety within the organization from the outside world. The non-linear events that we are facing nowadays. Let's just think about the socio-political situation that we are facing nowadays. And also, what are the consequences of all this? Really incomprehensible. So we are asking our leaders to actually be resilient in a shifted way, because resilience is no longer about recovery from a crisis, go back to the shape that we were having before, but it's about now continuous adaptation and transformation, because pressure is no longer one single episode. Pressure is a permanent and continuous status in our organizations. So let us go to the truth of leadership and of resilient leaders. The people within the organization do not follow what we intend. They follow us as leaders, how we behave and what we do. We are like the lighthouse. Behaviors of leaders are like the lighthouse in the middle of a stormy weather for our employees, because behavior in time of stress, in time of pressure, becomes the unique point of reference. In fact, when moments of pressures are there, and we know that pressure is there every day, people do not look for the loudest leader, the toughest leader, the fastest leader, because these kind of unbalanced behaviors don't do anything else than adding up to pressure. Whereas just yesterday, Lance was talking about this very nicely. They're looking for balance in leaders, a leader that has a balance between, we said yesterday, between IQ, EQ, AQ, and CQ, right? Leaders who manifest the consistency of behaviors, authenticity, they are grounded, they are decisive, they are always stable, and they are the lighthouse in the middle of the ocean with their behavior. So now, when we look at resilient leadership and we connect it with performance, risk, and governance, here it is when resilience stops being a soft skill and really anchors into psychology. Because resilience actually works on a model, operational model, onto 3 levels. It's about the individual, it's about myself, how do I think when under pressure? Is my thought, can I think clearly? Can I control my emotion? The second level is my relationship with the others within the organization, with the other stakeholders. So what is the kind of environment that I create around me? Okay? Is this consistent? Do I create that so-called psychological safety that is so important for people to be able to talk to each other? Do I create an environment of trust? And thirdly, the third level is about the governance framework, because all those set of rules and identified decision rights, the delegation of authority and all this, that create this framework, this guidance for our people in the organization to always refer to also when the stormy weather is out there. And here is where the HR can help. When we look at the employee life cycle, when we look into all the functions in the HR area, we are the ones who actually are the levers of the creation of the resilience leadership framework. And when we do this, when we build us as HR together with the leadership, with the CEO, with the C-suite, we create this environment when there is the intention of create a resilience leadership framework. Of course, the result is there because performance becomes predictable, because we can take decisions in a better way. We can also predict risk, so the risk of failure is minimized because we can think ahead. And finally, also, the culture of the organization becomes less fragile. So leadership capability, let's talk about leadership capability. We know that leadership is not a personality trait. In fact, we talk about leadership skills. Leadership skills that are, in many organizations, we have a leadership framework with leadership principles that are described and developed and rewarded and enabled, of course, right? So, and under pressure is where leadership really reveals. When leadership principles, when the behaviors are consistent, are genuine, become habitual kind of behaviors, as I said, even when under stress, they cannot be broken because these stress reveals the true self of people. So in times of pressure, trust is either built or quietly eroded. And resilient leaderships are always emotional regulated, behavioral consistent, and predictable under pressure. Now, how do we design a resilient leadership framework? Considering the three levels, the individual, the relationship, and the governance, it all starts with the self, with the self-awareness. First of all, what is my purpose? What is my why? And who am I? What are my strong traits, my weak traits? How do I react in a situation of stress naturally? Where is that I need to improve myself? Who can help me? This is fundamentally important. Secondly, Denise yesterday mentioned the organization values and the purpose. What is this organization about? Why do we exist as an organization? What are our values? And what are the links between our organization's values and purpose and our individual value proposition, who we are, who we want to be? And then we need to set clear principles, establish clearly and describe it, be vocal, and definitely train, develop, enable, reward, and then when things go wrong, have also a recovery plan. Because, of course, we need to learn from our mistakes in order to not repeat them again and to improve. Now, what is the link between leadership in resilient leadership in high-performance culture? Of course, you know, it's about clarity, transparency, communication, predictability, developing trust, having a fair and balanced behavior, because leaders must transmit the strategy, but also leaders transmit the emotional signals. Our people in the organization want to know what is our strategy, what is our plan in 5 to 10 years. right? But they especially want to know whether they will be supported in this time in order to achieve those strategic objectives. So the roles of the HR leaders, as I mentioned, is the one of building the architecture, the framework, the conditions for leadership principles to be developed and resilience to be developed. So here is the bridge slide, because when the resilient leadership behaviors are in place, then we have the condition for performance, right? When performance is consistently achieved, we have the conditions of a high-performance culture. So everything is linked together. And resilient leadership is about remaining whole when having all our big responsibilities as leaders, but also while leading others. And I'm concluding now. So when resilience is intentional, is well-designed, is not a slogan, it's something that we really engineered within the organization in a very conscious way, starting from the individual, the relationship of the individual with the others, the relationship with the company values and purpose, then high performance is a very easy consequence of this. Now, we don't have time for questions, and I don't have time for to tell you also about the matrix, but what I do is I invite you to take the QR code. This is my LinkedIn. Feel free to send me all your questions. I can share with you the literature that is behind all this talk, and also matrix and whatever else you need from me as a support if you want to implement this in your organization. Thank you so much.